Namibia is currently facing the worst drought in a century, and the country has planned to kill hundreds of its most majestic animals to feed its people. According to this plan, which has been approved by the country's cabinet, 723 animals will be slaughtered, including 30 hippos, 60 buffaloes, 50 impalas, 100 blue wildebeests, 300 zebras, 83 elephants, and 100 elands. Namibia is experiencing one of the worst droughts at this time. Its government says it's trying to support drought relief programs, adding that these animals will come from national parks and areas with sustainable populations and will be killed by professional hunters. According to the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, more than 48% of Namibians, or around 1.4 million people, are facing a food crisis at this time. In May this year, the government declared a state of emergency in the country.
Emergency was declared from the 22nd of May under Article 26(1) of the Namibian Constitution and the Disaster Risk Management Act.
According to the United Nations, Namibia has seen a 53% drop in cereal production and a nearly 70% decrease in dam water levels due to the ongoing drought. Last week, a UN spokesperson said that 84% of the country's food reserves were already exhausted. The World Food Programme announced in June that more than 30 million people across southern Africa have been affected by this severe drought. Droughts are common in this region, and it has faced several in the past decade, but the current one is the most devastating. Much of this is due to El Niño, a natural climate pattern that causes warmer, drier weather in different parts of the world. It has led to a severe rainfall deficit across the region, with temperatures remaining 5 degrees above average, according to the World Food Programme. February was the driest in 100 years, receiving only 20% of the usual rainfall. According to the same report, these rain shortfalls have occurred at a crucial time for crop growth, causing harvest failures in a region where 70% of people depend on rain-fed agriculture to survive. In July of this year, the USAID agency announced $4.9 million in humanitarian assistance for Namibia. However, this amount is insufficient to address the widespread hunger in remote areas, which has led the Namibian government to implement measures such as slaughtering animals. According to a press release issued by the Ministry of Environment of Namibia, this exercise is necessary and is in line with our constitutional mandate to use our natural resources for the benefit of Namibian citizens. Another reason mentioned in the press release is to reduce the prevailing cases of human-wildlife conflict. Since 2019, at least 33 people have been killed and 54 others injured due to human-wildlife conflict in Namibia. In May 2023, Namibia hosted a national conference which resolved, among other things, that elephant numbers need to be reduced. With the severe drought in the country, these conflicts are expected to increase as animals and humans both seek out water and vegetation. Although elephants are herbivores, they can be dangerous. Nearly 50 people were killed by elephants in Zimbabwe last year. Dr. Julianne Zeidler, the country head for the World Wildlife Fund for Namibia, said that while animals usually migrate during severe droughts, the current nationwide drought leaves no space for them to migrate to. Namibia's reliance on wild game is not a recent development. According to a recent government report on the country's game meat industry, people in the region have long consumed some of the animals listed in the Ministry of Environment's Cull list, such as zebra, blue wildebeest, and impala. According to Dr. Rose Mwabaza, eating wild game is a common practice worldwide. She is the regional director of the UN Environment Programme and said that the sustainable consumption of bushmeat is permitted under the Convention on Biological Diversity, but she sets conditions for this. As long as these animals are harvested using scientifically proven, sustainable methods that consider animal welfare and comply with both domestic and international laws and commitments, there should be no cause for concern. The Namibian government has already started implementing its program. So far, at least 157 animals have been culled, delivering around 56,875 kilograms of meat, according to the ministry. Namibian officials also claim that their efforts will help mitigate the impact of the drought on wildlife by focusing the hunt on areas where they feel numbers exceed available grazing and water. For example, an elephant spends 80% of its day eating and consumes a large amount of resources, with an average animal eating 300 pounds of vegetation per day. Thus, they can become particularly vulnerable in such catastrophic conditions. This situation is evident in other southern African nations as well. Extreme drought has already claimed the lives of at least 160 elephants in Zimbabwe's largest national park by January and 300 elephants in Botswana last year. The region is also home to the world's largest population of African savanna elephants, which are endangered and whose numbers have halved over the last 3 generations. However, in conservation reserves, their population has remained stable. Now, due to the severe drought, these populations are under threat and are increasingly encroaching on human settlements. Other countries, like Australia, have allowed the culling of animals in the past. Over the years, Australia has sanctioned the killing of thousands of kangaroos, with officials previously warning that there wasn't enough food to sustain their population.